Thank you, John, and the formidable SLD team, Lieutenant General Chi, Secretary Gosmin, colleagues, friends, good morning. It's a real honor for me to be again with you this morning and to participate in this prestigious forum, my third occasion to participate in this important dialogue. And I want to thank my co-panelists for their insightful and thought-provoking remarks, and to all of you for the decision to be here and to participate as well. Ce matin, j'aimerais vous présenter pendant quelques minutes un point de vue formulé depuis l'autre côte du Pacifique. Je suis ministre de la Défense nationale du Canada depuis 6 ans et j'étais ministre des Affaires étrangères avant ça. Je suis donc en fait de ce qui se passe dans cette partie du monde depuis un bon moment déjà. Now that you all have your translation on, I'm going to go back to English. This morning, I want to take a moment to bring a perspective from the other side of the Pacific, the ocean we share, and the responsibility that we embrace. As Canada's Minister of National Defense for 6 years and Minister of Foreign Affairs before that, I've been involved in a number of these issues that pertain directly to this part of the world. Canada is historically connected to the Asia-Pacific, but our involvement here is a reflection of our shared history. Later this day, I'll visit the Kranji War Memorial to pay respect to Canadians who made the ultimate sacrifice 70 years ago in support of shared values and a clear commitment to peace and security. This year represents, as we know, the 60th anniversary of the Korean conflict, one which saw 516 Canadians give their lives so that others might live. These brave souls, and far too many from many nations, many represented here, gave their lives for ideals still very much cherished today. Freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. And yet, sadly, the world remains volatile, and young soldiers and sailors and airmen and women are still required to leave home and fight for lasting peace. From Singapore of the 1940s to Syria today, from Kapyong, Korea of the 1950s to Kandahar, Afghanistan today. We all understand this region's dynamism, growth, unique challenges, and the great potential of things to come. At this forum, we're seized with the challenges that we encounter. As ministers of defense and foreign affairs and finance, members of the military, engaged public servants and academics and activists, and citizens, we all play a role. As a starting point, I think it would be useful to discuss some of the more straightforward challenges that we face. Some security challenges are driven by geography and what appears to be the irreconcilable ideological divisions, such as the long-standing and unresolved tensions that date back decades, like those on the Korean Peninsula. Other security challenges seem to be the result of strategic or economic interests. Territorial disputes, for instance, raise diplomatic challenges that sometimes threaten to spill over into the security area. And I echo the comments of Secretary Hagel, who yesterday underscored the necessity of pursuing diplomatic efforts over military actions. And he laid out some of the clear markers for a better defined relationship between the United States and China, which impact us all. And I'm glad to hear Secretary Xi embrace these sentiments. Practically speaking, it will require the work of all nations, given the scope and the complexity and the impact of these challenges. Piracy is an example of a subject of enormous concern, with high volumes of valuable cargo moving around the globe and falling prey to hijackers. And we're not separated by the world's oceans. We're connected by them. Other rising tensions, we need only to look at the incipient development of blue water navies by some countries in the region. This development is a legitimate concern in some quarters. But it's also completely understandable, given the continuing importance of communication and connectivity of sea lines, and the important lessons of other places, such as the Arctic, with the melting of polar ice and the prospects of new transportation routes emerging. So from my perspective, ladies and gentlemen, The key to resolving challenges like these, as we have heard from many speakers, is dialogue, openness, honesty, and transparency, hallmarks of this forum. And I must say, John, that this year's offering, the tone and the tenor is constructive and positive, without stepping away from the hard issues. Yesterday, we heard questions and answers and exchanges that were substantial and frank and compelling and helpful. And that's why Canada believes in the importance of engagement, security architects, and governance mechanisms. Certainty leads to greater confidence and clarity, essential ingredients of the security world that we all desire. And now, as the countries of this region, and across the world as a whole for that matter, draw closer together, these forums provide valuable venues for dialogue, for cooperation, and the resolution of problems ever more relevant. ASEAN is approaching its 46th birthday. Many in this room were not born when this organization began. Well, some were. There's a highly motivated new generation who will have their say and leave their mark on the future of this region. And how we communicate is a reflection of how the dialogue has accelerated. Tweets and posts and pokes are the norm. And the flow of information and the changing of the guard is happening at record speed. Technology and the pace and the volume of information has never been greater. Yet there remains a need to emphasize human values of compassion and shared commitment to our neighbors and rules that protect people and pursue the peace. As we know, these forums are based on global norms and values that inform and guide our actions. And while there's always room for improvement, a commonly understood set of parameters and principles for international relations is absolutely invaluable. And to paraphrase much of what has been said over the last 2 days, perfection should not be the enemy of progress. Over the years, it has been encouraging to see regions around the world embrace the modalities of global governance. We have a system, while not perfect, that works and has long established, modernized, and evolved. It is tested and true. And I'm thinking of the evolution of organizations of the American states, NATO, the United Nations, the African Union, and of course, ASEAN and ARF, and new ones as well. It was mentioned the ADMM Plus, for instance, is becoming a focus for consultation, a gathering that fosters real trust and cooperation, and I hasten to add, one that Canada would very much like to join as a nation with vast Pacific coastlines and a history of true engagement here in this region. The dialogue, transparency, confidence building, and preventative diplomacy taking place in these fora are promising. They can lead to concrete regional successes in key areas, like the reduction of interstate tensions, the free and secure movement of goods through some of the world's busiest maritime transit points, the struggle against violent extremist groups, and responses to natural disasters, search and rescue, and humanitarian relief. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last decades, this region has undoubtedly grown both in importance and prominence. And from the perspective of much of the rest of the world, many improvements in all areas that I just mentioned, are a testament to the success of close collaboration and focus on effective management of regional dynamics. Asia-Pacific security is now part of global security dynamics, and however you define it, Asia-Pacific, Indo-Pacific, or Pan-Pacific, as we like to say from the perspective of Pacific Canada. So it should come as no surprise that today's security challenges like transnational organized crime, terrorism, smuggling of drugs and weapons and people, cyber threats, piracy, and proliferation, none of them respect borders. None recognize jurisdictions, and they're plagues on the prosperity, on human quality of life. And it's why so many countries have sent warships to participate in international counter-piracy operations off the coast of Somalia. It's why South Korea and Singapore are contributing to NATO's training mission in Afghanistan. And it's why Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, and others are contributing to UN peacekeeping missions across the globe. And so it's why we're gathered here this morning, to talk frankly about new trends in Asia-Pacific security. And the truth is that in this field, Asia-Pacific trends are global trends, and vice versa. The benefits of being connected are immeasurable, and it has been an enduring theme throughout the weekend, not just through instant reporting and the 24-hour news cycle, but the reality that regional tension leading to regional conflict can quickly explode into a larger one, which will directly affect global security and economic prosperity everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, as this region continues to flourish, the rest of the world is becoming ever more engaged here, as is Canada. This is simply a continuation for us, an expansion, and a ramping up of our involvement in participation in the Pacific. We have more diplomats in Asia than anywhere else in the world. And aside from the United States, Asia is our largest trading partner. And for more than a decade now, Asia has been the largest source of immigration to Canada. Immigrants who have set up strong and vibrant diaspora across our country. Over the years, the Canadian Armed Forces have maintained a presence in this region, from the 1940s to present day, participating in some 64 operations of shared security building. And we're glad to share our expertise in fields like peacekeeping operations, training, civil-military relations, military medicine, counterterrorism, maritime security, humanitarian assistance, and disaster relief. Our collective efforts towards security are the key ingredient for prosperity and as essential as the air we breathe. We're looking forward to continuing to work with ASEAN countries to contribute to regional security dialogues, and as mentioned, we hope one day to be able to extend our contributions to ADMM+ as a real Pacific partner in peace and stability. And before returning to Ottawa, I'll be meeting with my counterpart, General Chang Wan-kun, in Beijing. This is a time for much discussion, and I look forward to the constructive bilateral. But this is only the first visit by a Canadian to this new minister who was appointed just a few months ago, but it is the 77th visit by a Canadian minister in the last 3 years to this region. So to sum up, our numerous initiatives in security and defense complement the healthy links that already exist between our country and this region. Recent military operations such as DIREX and Cobra Gold, and Canada's hosting of numerous Asian participants in Exercise Maple Flag and other North American exercises like RIMPAC, increase understanding and interoperability, practically building the Pacific region and its people. At the ASEAN-Canada ministerial meeting in July, Canada's Minister of Foreign Affairs announced $10 million in funding for dedication to ASEAN-related projects in the coming years. In today's increasingly interconnected world, we cannot expect threats and challenges to stop at national or regional borders, as I said, particularly when non-state actors ignore jurisdiction, international law, and rules of and covenants. However, ASEAN approaches and institutions are making impressive headway in dealing with the ASEAN manifestations of these trends. And the underlying trends that affect the security of a Parisian also impact the security of the people of Phnom Penh and Pictou County, my community in Canada. Our growing interconnectedness is fast becoming interdependence, which breeds confidence and trust. And as my colleague from the Philippines said, we are all working to perfect our whole-of-government approaches, or as NATO calls it, comprehensive approaches, that involve working together internationally and collectively in transparent ways to face the threats head-on. It's been said that partnership does not consist of standing side by side, but in looking outward in the same direction. As we not only look outward but take action together, we will reduce the security threats, not only in Asia but around the world. Once again, I want to thank the IISS for their kind invitation and their remarkable Pacific Podium for peace and security and dialogue. And I want to thank the people of Singapore and their government for their kind hospitality. I look forward to your questions. Thank you. Merci.